Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Just thought I would pop in, talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. I bet you're feeling it. We are in a really intense time as we completed our Venus square Pluto, and now we've got Venus square Saturn, and the feminine inside of all of us is up against the wall. And stuff is really intense right now in the collective consciousness, and like a lot of fear programming and gloom and doom, and just this like really dark reality that's being painted for us. And even the most advanced souls, lightworker souls, are kind of feeling themselves pulled into this vortex. And this has to do with Venus in square to Saturn, because Saturn in at home in Capricorn is about laws, rules, the man, authority. No, you can't. No, you don't. And it's like, whoa, she finally felt like she was getting somewhere, being released from these chains. And she went through these fires of purification in Aries. She's still in Aries here in the square, but going over that black moon Lilith and Chiron and square Pluto. And she's like, and then it's like the final hour and she's beaten down yet again, is kind of this feeling. And it's bringing up a lot of energy around the healer archetype because of what's happening in the world right now. And kind of a deep programmed energy over our whole earth evolution, it's kind of been a form of abuse in a way of these incredibly powerful healer lightworker souls. And a lot of these souls today don't even realize, they know they have something, they will feel like maybe they have something specific here to do, a path, but completely out of touch with this amazing abilities that they have. Now, these abilities aren't something like, oh, I can learn how to do this. It's like, no, you have been working on this for lifetimes and previous whole evolutions, gone through spiritual ascension numerous times. And here you've squeezed yourself into this little body in this 3D reality, trying to make sense of this dark, what's being shown to us, this dark world, this lower paradigm. And there's an energy coming up for people that has always been there under the surface through our evolution, for these souls of like, well, there's nothing you can do. Oh, you've got all that healing, all that light. You've just have all these experiences and this power within you, but nothing you can do to help, And it's really interesting that this energy is coming up right now, because it's actually, we're right on the edge of a lot of these souls, like breaking through the delusion, the Maya of what's been created for us. And that's the message that's coming through right now, is that when stuff is really intense, like what's being shown to us, what's being created, the fear programming, it's like we're being microwaved with fear energy right now. That sometimes when stuff gets so heavy and so intense, and this square energy pushing us into that corner, and this goddess, she's feeling like, oh my gosh, I just made it so far in the battle. I thought I was getting somewhere, and now knocked down again. And then this deep hopelessness feeling over that you felt in lifetimes through this evolution. It's just a long old story, but it has to do with feeling like you failed, like it's your fault, like you don't deserve. This is the energy that's coming up so powerfully right now. So the dark feelings that a lot of people are feeling in the collective, which being fed into our consciousness, are like triggering deep past life situations and patterns where you felt like just the same story. You were trying to bring harmony, healing, light, and it was rejected. You were blamed for things that happened. Your power was used against you. And it's this feeling of like, how can I ever win? That's this Venus square Saturn. It's like, how can I ever win against the tanks and the guns and stuff? You know what I mean? But something happens in these really intense times, which this is the message to just kind of try to come back into yourself. It's just such a perfect time. I hope you can join me for the 21 days of presence, just short daily meditations to come into the truth of stillness inside of you, and who you really are and what's really going on here. Because we know that this world, it's been proven to us that's only it's like we conceive. Reality only exists when we conceive of it, right? And here we are conceiving and being told and being fed these dark energies, and that this is the world. This is how it is. You know, you've already lost. You might as well just give up. You know, and we're in the final battle, and we can't give up now. But there are times when you need to retreat into your bunker and get your inner reserves. You need to cut off everything where you're giving your outsiders on the planet right now that might not even know of their power, but they feel like they might be here for something. Yes, you are. And the time is now, and we can do something, and we are powerful. And our presence in the light, as hard as it is to separate from this paradigm and fear programming that we're being showered with right now, this is why you're here. And it's like, okay, you know, in these types of times, this is when you go within and you go in and you heal yourself, you regenerate, you refuel, you cut off all of the garbage and all of the garbage collecting you've been doing for the people around you. And you say, you know what? I gotta be present with me and my energy and save up for the next round of the battle. Right now, maybe not so much time to fight because we've got this Mercury retrograde, right? Now, this could bring a little bit of a shift because, of course, tomorrow Mercury is going to go back into Aquarius. So it's kind of an interesting energy because going back into Aquarius is kind of like, whoa, okay, wait a minute, you guys. Whew. That, like, so much of what's being created for us in the delusion of our world by the control energies has to do with that Piscean energy of like, wait, what's real? What's true, what's really going on, you know, and completely doubting our reality, doubting our sense of self, doubting everything. And of course, Mercury retrograde in Pisces is really putting us into that place as we're wallowing around in all of these dark stories that haven't been resolved from our past. But the energy coming back to this thing is that when things are intense like this and you're in the corner, it's like something can happen that's quite a miracle. And it's like you can almost like, it's like so freaking intense that you can like, just something can snap and be like, oh my gosh, like, is this some sort of a bad joke? Is just this like some sort of, how can it really be like this, right? And you can see through the veil of these delusions. And once you do, you might get caught in these energies and stuff, but you'll never get caught in the delusion again. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're up against the veil of delusion. And it's like things have to get intense for us to see through and be like, oh. And then it's like, okay, I think that I might be playing a game. I didn't know I was playing a game. I have no idea the rules, but still I have to play my cards, which right now the cards seem to be like retreat, find your inner reserves, be present, maintain and contain your energy. But it's like, just keep in mind that's, we're not going to have that opportunity to see through the veil unless shit's really intense. And then there's this energy, though, what's going on. A big part of what's going on is we've got this Mercury retrograde in Pisces, like delusions and confusion and like programming just like everywhere. And we don't know what's real, what's not. And it's kind of interesting because it does have that veil thing. It's kind of like when you're so like in this delusional trying to figure out what's true, what's not, sometimes you can see through the game easier. Like that's the next step we're going to. And maybe that's what Mercury going back into Aquarius is. It's like, whew, oh my gosh, you guys, this is the nightmare of the Piscean age. And it's okay. We've seen through it. Okay, so we're reliving it right now because we got to change these things. Now, this has a lot to do, these current energies, with the Black Moon Lilith and Chiron are exact in conjunction, very intense energy. Now, they don't, but together they have an energy, but when they're interacting with the other planets, or in this case, it's the nodes, they're an exact square to the nodes of the moon. So the North Node in Cancer, South Node in Capricorn. And so the nodes are about the past and the future, future karma, past karma. Where are we going? What are we doing? The crossroads type of energy. And so this is, again, Black Moon Lilith, the darkest emotions, darkest places within us, within our society, that need to be cleansed and brought into the light. And then Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries, the wounds around whether or not it's okay for you to be who you really are, which is that healer self that you didn't even know you were. You kind of had an inkling, but you forgot. Because if you were, say, persecuted as a healer or a light worker in the past, then you're going to be like, never doing that again, right? But then you've separated yourself from who you are, and you might not even be able to recognize who you are. And the deal is like, and then you're walking around being like, oh, I think I have this gifts, but I can't, there's nothing I can do with them, and nobody wants them, and I can't win in this battle, you know? And yet that's exactly what we're called to do, is be present in the light of who we are. It's our vibration that creates reality, and they want to feed us into these dark energies so they can continue to feed on us. We are food for them. When we're in despair and hopelessness and this energy that's trying to be created right now on the planet, that's when we're food for these forces. And our power is what's allowing them to keep the false paradigm. And it's like, it's not easy, and I don't have any solutions exactly how to do this, but it's like we're learning. The evolution we're in right now is about claiming back our spiritual truth from these delusions and from the fear energies, and holding this light, holding this part of yourself that you may have completely disconnected yourself from, this big part of your soul that hasn't fully incarnated here, and yet it knows what's going on, and it knows why you're here, and it's time to land home. But it's like this, it can be a very painful and dramatic process, but it's like that truth of you is why you're here, and that's all you need to do, is be present in that truth, which is this vision of why you've gone through all you've gone through for so many lifetimes and evolutions to be here right now. And it's not because to get beaten down and fail. It's like to be present in the light of truth, which we know the potential of this earth evolution. And we know on some level all we've gone through to be here right now for this epic and amazing transition. And you got to hold that light in your heart, you know? You got to find that inner strength. You got to find that inner reserve. Now is not the time to give up the battle. You're closer than you think. And yet it's important for these feelings, this intensity, to come up so that we can be pushed through the illusions and the delusions of this world and claim back that inner truth, and claim back those powers that you have, that you don't even know you had, that you've rejected, you've sent away, you know. And it's like, well, if you're not recognizing and owning who you are, how can you find your people? How can they find you? You know? And this is kind of this weird place that we're at right now. And we're having this massive bloom with these squares of past energy, Black Moon, Lilith, and Chiron in square to the nodes, bringing up huge energy of course, the Capricorn energy, which is the authority energy, the structures of the world that won't allow this paradigm shift to happen, because it's like we're too good of a food source. You know, it's like a slap in the face, what's happening right now. And it's like, oh yeah, and you can't, there's nothing you can, your healing doesn't work on this sickness, right? Like, sorry, you guys are screwed. And it's like, no. You know, this is like our huge opportunity to take our power back and be shown these lies and delusions. But Black Moon, Lilith, and Chiron in square to the nodes, and the North Node in Cancer, it's only got next month. It moves into Gemini, right? And so we're at the tail end of the North Node in Cancer, the North Node being, how are we going to get to where we're going? What is the path forward? And that's around nurturing and receiving and compassion. These are the beautiful aspects of our feminine within. And yet our goddess, our girl, our little girl is feeling really beaten down right now. You know, like, who wants that compassion anyway? That has no value in this world, you know? And, but this is the thing, the deep secret that's happening right now. The deep revelation has to do with, like, can we receive who we are? Because how are you going to be that light if you are rejecting it? And I feel like this is what's going on for these light workers, all this past life stuff coming up around feeling like you failed when it typically wasn't your fault at all. Whatever happened, it was like a setup because you've been targeted since the moment you got to this planet. And but then this feeling of like, oh, I don't deserve to be the light worker. I'm not good enough. This is kind of these wounds of Chiron too, because Chiron's a wounded healer. And in Aries, it's like, do you have permission to be who you are as the healer, and exist on the planet? Which means what's cleansing out is this persecution and very deliberate eradication of native indigenous cultures and their medicine people, very deliberate eradication of the magic people, the healers on this planet. And of course they feel like then the planet just gets worse. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, it's my fault. Like somehow, and these souls are all feeling individually, like somehow it's their fault and they need to fix the whole earth. That's too big of a job, right? And so we've got to come back together to do that. But how can we do that if you can't receive who you are? Because how are your people going to find you? And there's a lot of program around, in order to survive, you got to hide who you really are. And so there's just so much on the table right now, but it's good. We have got to clear these shadows. We have got to clear these things out of the psyche. And Black Moon Lilith, the darkest places that are connected in our consciousness and our emotional bodies from past lives around this persecution and not deserving. Because like, this is where we're at. Humanity in general, they feel like they deserve and they're more comfortable with being the slaves and the sheep herded by the control energies, And it's like, as long as we feel like this is what we deserve, that's all that can arrive for us, And what if that divine timeline, all those blessings are trying to come into your life and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not good enough. It's like, okay, well, where do we go from there? Right. And so all this stuff has to just cleanse out, because it's like, you're good enough. You're enough. You exist. Not only do you exist, but you've gone through so much to be here. But just in the pure essence of who you are as consciousness existing, you do have access to that consciousness. You are that consciousness, And we just got to clear the table and put all of these stories and delusions aside of what we've been told and go be present with that light. You are healing the planet when you're there. And it's very tricky because it's like these souls are projector souls. So they're very targeted with these lower vibrational energies, and then the collective heaviness. And it's like, oh, and then it's like this whole story of like, well, how can you go into the lightness of being, of why you're here, and hold space for what's possible when everybody else is really into suffering and you're here to help with suffering? Who are you to go be free of that suffering? Right. And yet we've got to raise our vibration, and so there's just so much on the table right now. It's a long story. I could talk for hours about it, but I'm sure you're getting the picture. And we'll see what happens here with Mercury moving back into Aquarius. Maybe we'll get a little perspective of like, oh, okay. Whew. I'm kind of seeing, I was down in the mud of the Pisces confusion and, buying into these delusions, buying into these lies, buying into the lower vibrational frequencies. It's like where that little girl is like, get back in your corner, and she's like, but I'm a powerful healer and I'm ready to bring the light to the earth. And it's like, get back in your corner, and she's just like, feeling really beaten down and she's feeling really alone. And this Venus square Saturn plus the Black Moon Lilith and the nodes is just bringing up all of anything left of this hopelessness. You can't win. Like nobody wants your healing. Like you can't win this battle. Your medicine doesn't work for this disease, and the feelings of like that this earth evolution has gone way haywire and it must be all your fault. But it's like, that's just not even possible. And it doesn't even make sense, and it's all in the game, keeping you in the corner and keeping you disconnected from your power and keeping you feeling not worthy. Except for you can't be worthy or unworthy of it. It's who you are, that you've, work you've done over many lifetimes and evolutions. And so know that we're in this energy of the last battle, and you can't give up now. And we need you, and you made it this far, and nothing can stop the light. Like this intensity, this darkness, this doom and gloom is evidence that we're getting closer to breaking through the lies and delusions. And when you hold that light and possibility and this potential of this earth evolution, it's like, I've been just shown this again and again, like what it took for you as a soul to be here right now is a lot. And you worked through all of that because you love this earth so much and you care so much about humanity. And then you're here and you can't do anything to help. And that's a total lie, because you being here in the light of truth of what's possible in our planetary evolution is the healing you're here to do. And everything else can unfold once we give ourselves permission. I've been shown again and again that these souls are carrying karma. Say something. Okay, so let's go back to that past life where you were persecuted and you were blamed for something, right? And this happens again and again. I've been shown again and again and again in lifetime pictures, past lifetime pictures. And it's like, okay, you are blaming yourself for something that the dark control energies that have been here on the planet since Atlantean time, and they used your power to create something. And of course, maybe you were naive, right? I'm sure, we've all played a part in it. We're all here to learn and grow. But at the same time, you did not create that karma, but you're holding the energy, the collective pain of whatever might have happened as if you did. It's like your commitment to the earth, which is what got you here karmically, to this potential of what we're doing here, is also what's holding you in the trap of the lower energies. And I've been shown again and again, when these souls wake up to the fact that it's not their karma and they can't heal it, and they got to give it back to the control energies and to whoever created it, it's like the vibration frequency on the planet just bumps up to the point where this whole delusion, false reality that's already fraying, and they're holding on for dear life, and that's how they want us to feel, but that just falls apart. And we get on with it, right? Like we're at this place, this Black Moon Lilith Chiron square the nodes is like, you cannot keep that dark, unworthy little girl in the corner healer part of you there anymore and go forward into this new energy and this new age, and then the Capricorn South Node, it's like, we've got to break the chains of that authority, take our power back, and clear this where we're hosting the darkness by buying into this story. And it's not true. And so we're being called to go to those inner reserves, go to the bunker, go get your troops in order, get your supplies, go to that place where the greater truth of how powerful you are and what everything you've done to be here. And now is the time you get to use your skills finally and be present with that, and maybe that Mercury moving it back into Aquarius can help us kind of, see through that veil of and be pushed, use this, we're at a time right now where it's such a potent and powerful time in the planet and in this astrologically. And it's like, it's time for us to step up. This is part of the Chiron Black Moon Lilith energy. It's like, get yourself out of victim. Because as long as you're in victim and the hopelessness and buying into the story, you can never vibrate and create what you're here to create, And so we've got to get those inner reserves, get our act together, and be willing to tap into this energy of what got us here. And we didn't come to just be beaten down and fail. It's not possible. We already won, on this other level. You can't stop this light from coming in. And yet it's kind of like a time where it's like we're being asked to use everything that's happening to us. And I know people are going through intense stuff right now. like beyond, and it's so intense and it's so hard because we're all feeling it, but you've got to use everything that's happening to you as fuel to get back to the truth of who you are and why you're here. So whatever's happening, it's like, okay, that's my fuel. This is happening because it's like it's time for me to go to those inner reserves, because the inner reserves is like the same thing as breaking through the veil of delusion. And the inner reserves are what gets you back to that vision of why you're here and everything you've gone through to be here, and the beautiful hope and light of the potential. So Earth has this beautiful vision, the DNA codes, the original Earth Gaia codes, evolving, and we're going with her. We're doing it together. And so somewhere inside of you is this knowing and this truth and this vision. And what happens when we just drop this whole fear story and go there and know that that's what's happening? So hang in there. It's really, really intense. But the other message that's coming through is that it's temporary, right? Like use this time, right, to clear this stuff that's been hidden in your psyche. Like you need to know you deserve, if that divine timeline's trying to come into your life and the blessings, and we all need to know we deserve. And we're kind of like beaten down humans being like, yeah, I don't know. Is our Father God going to say it's okay now? Or are we going to have to stay as slaves and stay as, disempowered, powerless beings? And it's like, yeah, those stories have got to go. But finding those inner reserves, being present with this light, this truth, this knowing that this is a place on the journey that we can use to get through the delusions and keep that place in your heart alive of hope and knowing of the beautiful thing we're creating here, even though we're being shown something completely different. So hang in there, and I look forward to seeing you soon, maybe on the Virgo full moon activation. That's going to be next Monday. Very powerful, potent full moon, and those delusion energies and confusion about what's real in our world just so on the table with the sun and Neptune together across from this full moon. And so we'll just be examining all of that and take that opportunity to get the reset we need to move into the massively activating March. So just know that it feels like we're going to be stuck here forever. And it's like going back to places how we felt, but even worse than but we felt this way before, but it's like, a bloom of it. And, but it's just, we're just right here, right now. This is just what's happening right now, and use it to your advantage, because we're less than a week left in this Mercury retrograde, and Mercury will go into Aquarius and give us some perspective. And then we're like Mercury full moon, Mercury turns direct, and Mars, Jupiter, Pluto lining up over the equinox. And it's interesting because leading up to that, we're going to have Mars in sextile to Neptune. And I think that's pretty interesting, because part of where we're at right now is we had this beautiful miracle kind of possibility energy with Jupiter sextile Neptune for the last 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. But when Mars comes into that sextile, it's like, move this stuff to the side, get the motor on the boat, and break free from. So it's almost like we're kind of, these delusions have to really present themselves very strongly in order for us to see through the game, see through the Maya. And because right outside on the other side of this Maya, the more intense it is, this is like, what? Is this a video game? Am I dreaming? What in the heck? And it's like, yeah, yeah. And it's not that we want to deny what's happening or suppress our emotions, but we are being invited to see through the curtain, Oz's curtain. And that's what this is all about. So when Mars is in sextile leading up to the Mars, Jupiter, Pluto intensity, divine masculine activation, right? And it's interesting because Venus is so square Pluto, square Saturn. She feels alone. She feels vulnerable. She feels full of regret and shame. And she should have done it better. And why can't she just be a good like do it right and be, like it's like all these lifetimes of not being the healer you are. And it's like right there in your face. And you're like, oh God, I bought into these stories. I bought into the lies. And, but it's like, and she feels very alone, but Mars in this Jupiter Pluto, it's like, it's definitely a divine masculine activation. And so it's almost like maybe we're clearing up this Black Moon Lilith Chiron and Venus squares are like clearing up that deep shadow in the feminine. And so we can receive, and the masculine and feminine can kind of come back together, start working together again, finally, which means we're coming back to the heart consciousness on the planet. And that's what you've been waiting for. And that's why you're here. And you need to do that first, right? Which means step out of the fear program paradigm, know that it's being fed into our reality, but it still doesn't mean it has to be true for you. And so hang in there. You're doing great work. And thanks for making it through all of this and being right here, right now, and finding each other together. So I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update or the full moon, Virgo full moon activation. That's Monday, March 9th at 11 a.m., just leading to the exact time of that full moon. So very powerful energy. I hope to see you there or on the replay. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.